notifications. This is a big one. So this is my second tip. Now, as much as I love Teams and I think it does really great for communication, one of the things we have to be really careful about is distraction. And Adrian or Michelle, like in another world, I'm very passionate around productivity and focus. So what we can find is that if you're constantly being barraged by notifications from Teams, it is going to interrupt your focus. So one of the most important things you can do is actually configure your notifications. Now, I'd love to hear in chat if you have felt that. Like, have you felt the situation of like, we're using Teams now and I'm getting so many pop-up notifications, I'm getting distracted. So give me a yes or a me too or hell yeah or whatever in chat if that's going to work, if you found that, and let's jump in and have a look how to change it. So there's a couple of levels of notifications. And the first one is some overarching settings. So I'm going to come up to the top here. Now I'm clicking on these three little dots next to my profile picture. If you're in the Windows or Mac version, it might be a slightly different icon, but it's in the same place. And I'm going to jump into settings. And there's a whole lot of stuff that we can do here in the settings, but the key one I want to look at is around the notification. So I'm going to jump down here. Now, first things first, we have this one here called a missed activity email. So this is actually on by default. I think it's once every hour. Basically, if you don't see a message, it's going to actually email you that there's been a message, like just in case you weren't getting enough emails already. So a lot of people like to come in and actually turn that off, unless you don't spend a lot of time in Teams, in which case it might be helpful. But either way, once you know the setting, you can make a selection. And Cara said, yes, she did find them annoying and she searched Google on how to turn them off. I love it. I'm glad you've done that, Cara. So that's the first thing. Now, the second thing down here is for Teams and channels, which is what the things you find under your Teams button and the chats. You can go in and can actually configure what you get notifications about. So I recommend a customized level all the time. Usually stands, it is way too many. If we jump into customize, we can choose what we get notified about for specific things. So for example, a personal mention. If someone sends you a message and they do an @ your name in the message, that's what we call a personal mention. So you can choose, do you want to get a banner and a feed notification? So banner is the pop-up message and feed is that it shows up in like the activity feed, which is a little activity button you see. Now, so you can choose that for each of these. One I can recommend, likes and reactions, I suggest putting that to off or only show in feed. Otherwise, you get a pop-up message every time someone likes one of your messages or a message in a channel. I can see you nodding, Mish. Have you found this to be a pain point as well? Oh, yeah, go on.
That was the first thing I turned off because it is so frustrating because, you know, I love technology, but we can only cope with so many notifications. And the thing is, if you're in a fun chat channel and the banter starts, it gets out of control. So I would turn it off.
Yeah, you're spot on. Exactly. And you've just given me a beautiful segue. Thank you. With that whole idea of like a fun chat channel or something like that, that's where we can then configure notifications on a channel level. So I actually hid this one before, but let's just bring it back. So we have like a random fun. Now, I love our random fun channel in the team, but I don't want pop-up notifications ever because it's too distracting. So for each of these channels, you can hover over it, click the little dots. You can jump into channel notifications and you can choose what you want. Customize will bring over your custom options and then you can change it, or you can just have off completely. Now, if someone still directly replies to you or does a mention of you, you still get it, but all the other stuff you don't. And last thing on this before I pass over to you, Mr. Francis, is under the chat section, you can do the same. So if you've ever been in a situation where you've been in a group chat that's really not that relevant to you anymore, you can mute it. So imagine muting a group of people in the office that are noisy. It's exactly like that. So you can hover over it, click the little dots and click mute or, oh, this one actually is muted. You can click over and click mute or unmute. That one is true. This is particularly helpful if you've been in a meeting and there's been a chat for the meeting, and after the meeting, people keep chatting in that same chat. And like, I really don't care. You can turn that off.